What's up, everybody? On the show today, we have Alfredo Alvarez, el cirujano del béisbol. Follow him on Twitter at Alfred Alvarez 3. He's here to talk to us about the Cuba deal. Alfred is actually the founder of Con Las Bases Llenas. You can go to conlasbasesllenas.com. I'll link that on my website to find his work. He's also the host of La Semana de los Bombarderos. It's a Yankees podcast, the only one in Spanish language. So if you're a Spanish-speaking person, that's the podcast to listen to about the Yankees. He's also a contributor at ESPN 990. Alfred, you do a show on ESPN 990 as well, right?
Yes. I do a show on Tuesdays at 10:20 to 10:30 a.m. every Tuesday, and I also do a show on Sundays from 2 to 3 for ESPN Radio.
Okay, and that's on ESPN 990's out of Miami. Could people listen to that on the app or on a podcast form?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can listen on the app. You can just go to 990espndeportes.com and you see that there's like a player there. You can listen to that online, or you can download the app that is called Actualidad Media, and you can just put it on your phone and you can listen 24 hours a day. Okay,
cool. So, Alfred, we have you on the podcast today because news broke today that Trump's administration canceled the deal between the Cuban Baseball Federation, the CBF, and Major League Baseball. And I wanted to get your reaction on it to educate us and our listeners a little bit more about what's going on. We had Francis Romero on before to talk about it. And since you're my guy now, I wanted to give you, the time to talk about it. So tell us what's going on. Like, why is it that Donald Trump and his administration decided to end this deal? And is it good that he's ending it, or, is it bad? What do you think?
Well, first, the facts are that the reason why he ended it, and I think it's kind of not the correct form to say that Donald Trump ended it. It's just the American government, because at the end of the day, what happened with this is that a long time ago, when the Helms-Burton law became official, it says that Cuba cannot receive no money from the United States, right? At all. No, not an entity that belongs to the United States to nothing in Cuba. In this case, the deal started going and through, right? Because the Cuban Baseball Federation, in paper, is not considered part of the government. But in reality, we all know that they are, because in Cuba, nothing lives by itself. Everything belongs to the government. Mm-hmm. So in this case, by allowing this to happen, you're violating simply a law it was implemented a long time ago. Now, this is pretty much what happened. So what happened, the cancellation of this deal is pretty much based on a law, a rule that was implemented a long time ago. Now, this is a mix of feelings for me, and I guess for a lot of Cubans too, because on one side, you start thinking about it, like on the side that why I don't like that it's canceled, you start thinking like, well, there was already a list of 34 very, very talented players that these guys are going to be millionaires, right? At the time that they get this $1 million in their hands, they're going to go and spend this money in Cuba with their families who are poor like everybody else in Cuba. And also they will create jobs. They will create, for example, let's say, they're going to start buying stuff like a restaurant, maybe a business, and they're going to employ people from Cuba, okay? Situation in Cuba has changed from 20 years ago. Everything started changing a little bit, right? In the last year, it's been a lot of changes because, for example, I can tell you when I was a kid, in Cuba, you cannot have your own business. In Cuba, you cannot literally watch Major League Baseball, and I'm going to tell you a story about that later, about me. You get caught just watching American sports, you would go to jail. That's how bad it was. Now it's not like that anymore. So things are changing. But at the same time, if you think about these families, these 34 families and all the families after that will sign a Major League deal, we get money, right? We'll live good. And that's important because if you enter, like let's say that there is 34 players. Let's say that between all of them right now, we're supposed to be the first 34 guys signing this kind of deal. Let's say that between all of them, you have like $500 million, okay? That $500 million is money that is going to go into Cuba, right? But the situation here is the following. The way that the deal was created is that the player is going to get the money, but then also Major League Baseball has to pay 25%, another 25% of the deal to the Cuban government, in this case to the Federation of Cuban Baseball, but we know that the owner is Cuban government. And also the Cuban government, and in this part it's not the Federation, the Cuban government is going to charge these players a tax when they get back here, because when I left Cuba in 2009, there was no taxes. We don't even know what taxes was. Now we know, because now you can have your own business and now you have to pay taxes. No people that work for somebody else, but if you own your own business, you have to pay taxes. So the other people that pay taxes in Cuba now is people that receive salary in a foreign exchange money. Let's say that in other words, if you're paying dollars or in euros or whatever, you have to pay a tax, right? So these players are going to get like a huge cut in their paycheck from Major League Baseball to the government, because the government is going to charge you like 30 or more percent of that money. So let's say using 100, because I'm not very good in math. So if you get $100 million, that $100 million, then Major League Baseball has to also pay $25 million to the Federation of Cuban Baseball, and then they also have to, and they know that from that $100 million given to the player is going to give like 30, 35 million to the government. So the government is making like 60 million out of that deal.
Wow.
So, from one hand, you're thinking like, anyway, so far with the embargo, nothing has never changed in Cuba, It's been really, really bad for Cuba. Now, if you ask me if I think that like taking off the embargo is going to be different, I don't know. I know on the other side, and the other side of my brain right now that is not happy but agree with what happened, is that, I lived there. I went through hell there. I know what is being living in Cuba. I know what communism and socialism will make to you, which is horrible. And I know that government right now, you're giving, in that example that I made out of $100 million, you're giving $60 million to the government that is killing people everywhere just for thinking different, for not dealing with the government. They're putting people in jail just for whatever reason that you won't believe it's possible to be, happening in the world today in 2019. Right. So you're giving money to a government that they're pretty much addicted. They are addicted to it. So it's a 50-50 thing, because you think about the people and how many lives they can change with that money, the players and their families and the jobs they can create. But on the other hand, you are like, well, you're still giving money to a government that is doing horrible things. Social media and the internet, right? Give you the possibility that everybody's watching what happened in Venezuela, and everybody's like, wow, this is horrible. Oh, my God, this is terrible. How that government is doing that? Well, this has been happening in Cuba for 60 years. The only difference is that there was no internet and social media back in the day, and you couldn't see the horrible things that happened over there. Now you can see what happened in Venezuela, and everybody's surprised. The only difference is that the Cuban people are so tired that they stop fighting, and they are in the point that everybody should just to immigrate. And they have let's say that we have the geographic, advantage that, well, if you can call it advantage, because so many people have died crossing the sea, but so many people just leave Cuba and came to the United States. That's why we have so many million people here in Florida. So, Venezuelans are trying to leave, but I guess it's not as easy for them since they're not so near to the United States. And plus there is not that kind of law that will protect you from crossing, that now Cubans don't have it anymore. Just to make, your listeners understand that that's not happening anymore, but it did happen for a long time. I am one of the people that came that way. I came crossing Mexico, but not in an illegal way, because for me it was legal, right? I was just Cuban. I just get there, show my papers that I was Cuban. They opened the door and they let me in the United States. That's how easy it was, right? So, it's a mix of feelings. But I think here baseball is losing too, because think about it, Manny. Before 1959, Cuba was the country that had the most players, Latino players in all of baseball, right? Cuba, it has 11 million people living in Cuba, and baseball is like God, like a religion out there. So, imagine how many good players we miss seeing playing here in Major League Baseball just because of politics. So I understand it's crazy. Like we miss seeing play in Major League Baseball a guy like Omar Linares, right? Who was considered the best player in the world at a point. Carlos Quindelan, Antonio Pacheco, Luis Giraldo Casanova, players that could really have been like superstars in Major League Baseball. I can tell you that today there is no Cuban player in Major League Baseball as good as those guys that I mentioned, and they never played Major League Baseball. So It is crazy. It is really bad. On that hand, if you're a baseball fan, you are like, well, you should be sad. But on the other hand, I mean, this is a government that is being horrible. I mean,
Yeah. So what do you say to someone who who might say that this deal could have prevented human trafficking, like the Yasiel Puig story or the Jose Abreu story and the Jose Fernandez? Like, those are horrifying stories of guys trying to escape Cuba, via a boat through Mexican cartels and all this stuff. Would you say that? Do you think that would have prevented it, or it wouldn't have made a difference?
Yes and no, because I mean, right now, if you make it here to the United States, you're gonna be returned to Cuba. That's the first thing. We have to understand that ex-president Barack Obama, in December, like the last month he was president, he changed that law, right? The law that actually made me be living here now. I'm an American citizen now, so that law that made me be a free person like I am right now, it's not in place anymore. Now, if you go to Mexico, you're gonna be sent back to Cuba. If you are cruising on the sea in a boat, you're gonna be sent back to Cuba. So how the Cubans are gonna get here? I understand it's gonna be people trying to come now, but I mean,
yeah, from what I understand, one of the players that was set to come, because it was, like you said, there was a list of 34 players that were gonna come via the posting system, like they do in Japan and in Korea. One of them was I don't know how to. I hope I don't say his name wrong, but it was Yoenis Cespedes' brother, Yoelkis. Is that how you say it? Yeah, Yoelkis. Yoelkis Cespedes was a part of that list of players. So you're saying that if these players aren't allowed to come through now that this deal has been canceled, that he can't sneak into the country anymore. That's no longer possible.
No, legally it's no longer possible. The only way these players are gonna get in the country is gonna be by going to Dominican Republic, try to pay there for papers, or Haiti. They would get like a citizenship over there, and they would try to come as Dominicans, even though they're Cubans, or they can get like a job permission. It's gonna be really, really tough. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, and we've heard horror. We've always heard horror stories too through Eddie Dominguez, the baseball cop. I don't know if you read that book, but he's a Cuban American too, who came into the country with his family the same way you did. And he, in his book, he used to be he calls himself the baseball cop. He worked for Major League Baseball, Department of Investigations, and he was talking about how some players do what you just said. They go through the Dominican Republic, they get their papers, and then they come in that way. That a lot of times those players are losing a lot of money too. So like their agents will take a tax out of whatever because they're risking themselves to do it. So it's almost like these Cuban players are, they're just in a really bad position. They're blessed with this talent and they're stuck in this country that doesn't allow them to play baseball freely.
Yes, it is crazy. I mean, look, I just interviewed last year Sandy Gaston, Dennis Larrondo, Osiel Rodriguez. This is the new, let's say this is the new fashion now, or the new way that they're finding is that there is, and I know them. I'm not gonna say their names, of course, here on this show, but I know the guys that they're in Cuba, they're in the Dominican Republic, and that's their business right now. I know them. I've talked to them. What they do is they recruit these guys in Cuba, very talented guys, when they're around 14, 15 years old. They would get a visa for them and their parents. They would get them to Dominican Republic. This is happening every day. There is an academy there already with hundreds of Cuban players. And then they would go to Dominican Republic, work, wait until July 1st. And when they're 16, they're gonna get signed over there in the Dominican Republic. And that's the thing. That's why right now also Cuban baseball is in such a bad position or in such a bad quality. If you watch now, Serie Nacional de Béisbol, that's the name of the league there, you see that the quality is not there anymore. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I can tell you that every single team has like 4, 5, 7, 8 guys that could have been easy Major League Baseball players. Now Cuba's still producing baseball players. It's only that we don't see them anymore in the Cuban baseball because they are leaving Cuba so early at the age of 14 and 15 with their parents. They are for like a year and a half in the Dominican Republic, and then they get signed over there. And what happened is that these academies, they will pay for everything, and then when the guys sign the contract, they have to give it a big amount of that contract to these guys. But you can call it buscones, but at the same time,
buscones.
This is not the classic buscones, because the classic buscones are the guys in the Dominican Republic that do this with Dominican players. This is quite different because these people will find a way to make them leave Cuba, and we take care of them in the Dominican Republic. Well, it's kind of buscones, but it's kind of different because these people is Cuban too. Like all retired Cuban players or people that know baseball in Cuba, and they have their trainers, and actually they make these players improve a lot. Like I interviewed guys last year that they are telling me, hey, when I was 14 years old, I was not even considered to be good to be in the Cuban national team for the teenage category, and now I'm a superstar. The guy signed like a $2.6 million deal. So this is what's happening. In this list that you mentioned of the 34 players, it's not only Joel Quisepe, one of the good guys that we miss playing. We also, this list was really good. Like Ariel Martinez, a catcher from my hometown, Matanzas. This guy is a superstar. He's gonna go probably play in Japan because that's the other thing. Now Cuban players can go play in Japan, but keep in mind that when I was a kid and when I was a teenager living in Cuba, nobody can leave Cuba.
Right.
You can only leave Cuba in a legal way, and you will play illegally here. You will come to the United States and not go back to Cuba. So, it's really hard. And when you say, like, human trafficking, I don't know. It's tough because right now we're in the position that we don't know what's going to happen, how the players are going to leave. And the worst would be now that, wow, if we're missing seeing Cuban players in Major League Baseball, this is going to be really bad. Because the best talent per, like, amount of people, you can have the... I mean, in this moment, in 2019, if Fidel Castro would never exist, it's a dream, but it did exist. But if he never existed, if Cuba right now would be like, I don't know, I won't say as good as the United States, that's impossible, but it would be so huge in baseball that you have no idea. Like, imagine Dominican Republic multiplied by 4, because it's not because I'm saying Cubans are better than Dominican Republic. No way. They're all good. But the amount of people, it's just problem of math. There is 11 million people living in Cuba, and there is like, I don't know how many millions live in Dominican Republic. I mean, you do the math, and of course you're going to get more players out of Cuba,
Yeah.
It's a fact, right?
That's
so,
crazy.
I mean, it's really crazy, man. In the other hand, it's really sad, too.
Yeah, I agree.
I promised you a story, Manny.
Oh, yeah, dime.
I promised a story. Yeah, so I'll tell you a story. When I was 15 years old, as we already met, right? So you see, I'm tall like you, and I'm 50. I have a mustache. So one day, I was holding in my hand a VHS cassette, 1997 World Series, right? For us in Cuba, I was like medicine. We get all of those highlight videos that the families here in the United States sent to us, right? That was the only way we have to get, be updated with what was happening in Major League Baseball. So I had that cassette, Ivan Hernandez, remember, MVP, World Series MVP. So I was just working on the street with my cassette, and then I just see this police car that, suddenly stopped, and this police, he stepped down of his car, and he's like, put your hands in the air, whatever. I'm like, what? What's going on here? So I put my hands in the air. That guy's asking me for my ID. When you have 15, you don't have ID. You get your ID when you're 16 in Cuba. That's when you're considered an adult, no 18 like here. So I was like, hey, I'm a minor. I don't have a... No, you're not. What are you holding in your hand? That's a VHS. What is inside that VHS? I'm like, well, I didn't even want to answer. He said it was baseball. He said, oh, no, this is American baseball. You know what? This is a slave baseball? That's what the guy said. I'm like, it's not slave.
Wow.
And then he said, oh, you're against Fidel, whatever. He put me in his car. I was arrested with 15 years old. I was taken to jail. I was there for like 1 hour. they were interviewing me. I'm like, I'm a minor. I don't even know why I'm here. You guys are violating everything. But in Cuba, they can violate anything they want. So at the end, one of my cousins told me he just went there. He was an adult already. And he started fighting there, like yelling at people. And then when they realized I was really 15, they had to let me go. But, I would never forget that. It was terrible. I know times have changed. Now they play Major League Baseball on television every Sunday. But, that's just to show your audience, Manny, a little bit of what is really living in Cuba and how tough it is, right? But on the other hand, I don't know if by closing doors is the best thing that you can do to finally, change what's happening in Cuba. Probably there is a good idea to, open doors and let the people there change everything,
Yeah, man, it's really crazy, man. That must have been a scary experience. I can't even imagine that. You know what I mean?
It was really scary. I would never forget it in my life.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So let me move on from the Cuban deal, and I want to ask you something about the Yankees real quick before we let you go.
Sure.
My co-host CT is a Red Sox fan, so we can gang up on him.
How do you have that kind of show? No, I'm just kidding.
Or not, man. We could just keep it friendly.
So, did you hear the news today that Luis Severino is going to require a second MRI?
I heard that, man. And I also heard that Miguel Andújar's condition is really getting worse. It's really sad. I think it's time for Brian Cashman, to hit the face on the desk. I don't know if that's an expression in English, I guess. He just has to do something, make a splash, and see what's going to happen. Because, I'm at the point that I am confident enough in Domingo Germán and in Jonathan Loaiza. I love this guy, Jonathan Loaiza. You guys call it Johnny Lasagna, but I love this guy. This guy he's very mature. He doesn't have a lot of experience in Major League Baseball. He looks very mature. When he's in a tough situation, he handled it very calm, very, very good. He has a big variety of pitches. Like his changeup is really good. His slider is on point. His fastball is 98, so he's good. But I am not confident enough that these, pitchers that we have now are enough to win the World Series. I mean, and that's the goal every year for the New York Yankees. I mean, you win the World Series, or it is a bust. So
do you think they should go after?
The only pitcher is Dallas Keuchel.
That's what I was gonna say. Do you think they should go after Keuchel? The report came out that he's willing to drop his price now, so he's willing to take just over the qualifying offer, which is $17.9 million, or a long-term deal for less money. Which to me, a pitcher like Dallas Keuchel, that seems like a bargain. Like I'll take that. I don't know about you.
I would take him any time. Yeah, for sure. I would take him too. The only thing is that, they're going to have a lot of lefties, but I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Think of my history with like the lefties that won the World Series for the Yankees. I mean, this guy is awesome. The only thing is that, so many lefties, but I mean, as you said, and plus, there's a team that can pay for him is the Yankees, and not because let's forget that this mentality that Yankees are the Yankees and they have to spend all the money in the world. It's not going to happen. That is not how baseball is run nowadays. There is nobody spending that amount of money anymore. Last year the Red Sox and the Dodgers were the only team that had to pay the luxury tax,
Right.
But the Yankees are so right now. I mean, I don't want to say so confident in what they have in the minor leagues or whatever, but they are like this new team that they don't like to spend money, and I have to say it because that's what they have been doing, and I understand it has proven that it works. It works for the St. Louis Cardinals, for the Giants, for the Royals, for the Mets. They made it to the World Series with doing your own players. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you need some good guys that are free. And if Dallas Keuchel is saying this, is because he want to be a Yankee. Who doesn't want to be a Yankee, Manny? Only
Exactly.
The guy next to you?
Exactly.
First of all, I would be a Yankee if they offered me a deal today. First of all, I'm not gonna.
For $1, I will play for $1. How about you?
I would to get in that bat in the major league stadium. I would play for $1. But it's funny
step on the field.
Easy.
It's like you said, they other teams have done it with their own farm system. But if you think about it, the Yankees farm system is already in the major league, so they should take advantage and reinforce the team because you got Judge.
Exactly.
You're gonna waste another year of Judge, Sanchez, Gleyber Torres, and depending if Severino comes back. So it's kind of like they are doing it with their farm system, but every team, nobody's ever just done it with their farm system. So yeah, they should definitely just make a splash.
Yeah. No, and you have a really good point in what you're saying, because let me tell you, 2 years ago, everybody was talking about a Yankee farm system. Now, not that much. If you think about, still have good talent in the minors, but not like 2 years ago. Right now, they have Florial, who's injured too, but he's coming back. Esteban Florial is really good, but I mean, Tyler Saw is good, and I'm one of the guys that really go deep into like watching the minor leagues and everything. But it's not like before. Like now, you don't have that list of players that the Yankees had when they had all these guys in the minors. Now they are in the major leagues. So I think it's time for add a free agent, like good quality free agents, because right now, what are you gonna do? You're gonna change a player for keep getting like young guys. And to be honest with you, since I follow minor leagues, they don't have so many pitchers in minor leagues right now. Like that many amount of pitchers. Say, oh wow, they have like this guy and that other guy who are like top 10, top 30 in pitching prospects. They don't have that. They don't have it. James Adams has proven to be like not as good as they thought, and there is not that many guys.
Crazy, man. Us Dominicans, we call when you have bad luck. CT's tired of hearing this because I blame this on my poor fantasy performance. But we have something called un fuku. I don't know if that's if you guys know that word in Cuba.
I heard that too. Yeah, I heard that too.
it's bad luck, man. Like
things like man. Go ahead.
It's just, I mean, how is it that a team can lose so many players in the first 2 weeks of the season, and then even before the season started, like you're starting with one hand tied to your back. But I think, I said to CT, I don't want to use it as an excuse yet because I still think we have a good enough team. We're seeing Gary Sanchez is hitting how he should have been hitting last year. If he keeps producing this way, I'm happy. Clint Frazier looks like he's good. I can't complain, so we'll see what happens. As long as the Red Sox keep losing games, I'm happy.
No, but something interesting is going to happen for sure in the trade deadline money, for sure. Now, the question is, who can you trade? This is something that you can do in another podcast. You can invite me, or I'll be very happy to hear you when you do this about this. But Yankees should be considering a trade, and I wrote about it today. They should be considering a trade. Probably first base, either Luke Boyd or Greg Burley. You might have to make a trade for a pitcher. That can happen. Last year they had a chance of, I don't know if you know this, but last year they had a chance of getting probably DeGrom or Syndergaard. They were asking for Gary Sanchez. They didn't make the trade, but I don't know if that was a good idea though.
I also heard you're on top of this way more than I am. I feel like I'm on top of it, but when I look at your content on conlasbasesllenas.com, I mean, you're on top of it like crazy. So you probably know this, but CT and I did an interview a couple weeks ago, and the host of that show told us that the Mets had offered. Do you remember the CT? It was DeGrom. Yeah, and Duhar, and who else was? I can't remember who. And Justice Sheffield, I think it was. Could you confirm that for us, Alfred?
They offer. I know two offers that were facts. Why? Because I can tell you that my other co-host in the show, Octavio Sequeira, and I don't mind saying this. It's not gonna hurt him. He lives in New York. He's a BBWAA member. He's in the Yankee Stadium all the time. He get like a lot of insight. Like I knew Gio Gonzalez was gonna sign with the Yankees probably before like Gio Gonzalez. So he knows a lot of things, and I can tell you that for a fact, Mets offered Jacob deGrom to the Yankees for it was for Gary Sanchez at that time. It was Gary Sanchez, Clint Frazier, and I can't remember. It was a pitcher too. And that trade that you're mentioning, you said that is the one that they were asking for Miguel Andujar?
Andujar and I can't remember and Sheffield, Justice Sheffield.
Andujar and Sheffield for
Jacob deGrom.
But it wasn't just Andujar.
Yes, that did happen, but there was two other players involved. It was Esteban Florial and somebody else that I can remember, and they say no.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and then we're gonna. I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know why they didn't do it. And the reason why is because The reason why I didn't think the Yankees should have gone after Manny Machado is because they had Miguel Andujar on the roster. They didn't need a guy like Manny. They needed pitching. They didn't need more offense. But had they pulled the trigger on a Jacob deGrom, who's the best pitcher in baseball probably right now, I think he is.
I wanted to be a Yankee.
Oh my God! Can you imagine a team with? Can you imagine Jacob deGrom and Manny Machado on the same team?
You think he cut his hair out of like he cut his hair because of that, bro?
Oh my God,
that's crazy.
Literally, he cut his hair. Like he was just sending a message. Yes, I'm here. Let's make that deal, and they didn't pull the trigger.
That's insane, man. So when I hear things like that, I get a little upset.
I get upset too because I mean, look, I have nothing against Gary Sanchez. I actually, in my show, if you guys follow it, I am always against Octavio's position about Gary Sanchez. He want to trade the guy every single day. He like literally he can't stand Gary Sanchez and Greg Bird. Me no. I come on. I interview the guy. I interview Greg Bird for the love of God. I like I would never be these guys say this guy has to go or not. But look, the thing is, the way I see it is, hey, Gary Sanchez is a really valuable guy for a trade because he can hit. He's a good catcher. Today in Major League Baseball, you start looking for catchers. You don't find that many that can hit. He has a good arm. It's crazy arm, and he's really bad at blocking pitches. But he's got a good arm, and he can hit. How many catchers are in Major League Baseball? You can say, oh, this guy is really good. Not many. But then things like Yankees have Roman, which is okay. You can use him, and they have Kyle Yashioka, who actually he's a good hitter too, and he's been in the minor leagues, hitting more than 20 home runs for 3 or 4 years now. You can have those guys catching at least for a deal with the group. Come on, that's a no-brainer.
And Gary, for a catcher, if you're going to use, most teams don't have a catcher like Gary Sanchez offensively. So,
no, they don't.
So when I look at it that way,
nobody like Phillips.
Yeah, so when I look at it that way, the Yankees could afford to get a downgrade at catcher and be league average at catcher, and upgrade at the pitching position where they get a guy who's way above league average. You know what I mean?
Super ultra upgrade at the pitching.
Yeah, so I don't know.
To be honest with you, even this year, if all of those pieces were supposed to be in place, like let's say Severino's healthy right now and he's pitching great, that pitching staff is still not convincing me to win a World Series. Now you have Jacob deGrom. Now we're talking.
Oh my God, man. Okay, Alfred. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Guys, follow.
No, man. It's a pleasure for me.
No, man. Pleasure's mine. Man. Follow Alfred at Alfredo Alvarez 3 on Twitter, and make sure you check out conlasbasesllenas.com. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. God bless.
Welcome to the Show podcast is powered by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/welcome to the show to get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial. That's audibletrial.com/welcome to the show. And for more exclusive deals, like getting a month of hymns for just $5 the first month, go to wttspod.com/save. That's WTTSpod/save. There you'll also find 10% off of KD Custom Kicks, where guys like Aaron Judge get their custom sneakers and cleats. You can also get 10% off of programs like Top Velocity. If you're a kid who's playing baseball, you want to improve the speed of your fastball, check out Top Velocity. Our music is by VM Varga and Rapturnal Music by Naughty Productions. Our logo is by Luigi Gomez. I'm Manny Gomez. Peace.
Peace.